Hey there nerd fighters, Fabian here, and today we're diving into the wacky world of predictions. You know, those wild guesses about the future that often end up hilariously wrong. Remember the time everyone thought Y2K would plunge us into the digital dark ages? People were stockpiling food and water, convinced that computers would fail and chaos would ensue, or when they said disco would never die. Spoiler alert, it did, but not before giving us some groovy tunes and unforgettable dance moves. But sometimes, just sometimes, a prediction hits the bullseye. It's rare, but it happens. And that's where our man of the hour comes in. Archibald Low, a name that probably doesn't ring a bell, but trust me, this guy was the OG tech wizard. He was ahead of his time in so many ways. Imagine a steampunk Doc Brown with a monocle and a penchant for the seemingly impossible. He was a visionary, seeing things others couldn't even dream of. Back in the 1920s, while everyone else was busy perfecting the Charleston, Low was busy predicting the future. He was thinking way ahead of his time. And get this, he actually got a bunch of stuff right. His predictions were not just wild guesses, they were spot on. From the rise of television to the power of wind energy, Low's predictions weren't just accurate, they were downright eerie. It's like he had a crystal ball. So, buckle up, grab your metaphorical monocle, and get ready for a wild ride through time as we explore 5 wacky predictions from 100 years ago that actually came true. You won't believe how spot on he was. Let's do this thing. Get ready to be amazed by the foresight of Archibald Low. Our first prediction takes us back to a time when the internet was still a twinkle in some inventor's eye, a distant dream that seemed almost impossible. Back then, newspapers were the undisputed king of information, the primary source for news and updates. But Archibald Low, ever the forward thinker and visionary, saw a different future, one where newspapers were about as relevant as a floppy disk at a LAN party, a relic of the past. Low predicted that the bulky newspapers of the day would be replaced by something far more immediate, far more engaging: television, a medium that would revolutionize information dissemination. Now keep in mind, this was way back when TVs were basically giant wooden boxes with a flickering screen the size of a postage stamp, hardly the sleek devices we know today. Imagine trying to explain Netflix or streaming services to someone who's never even seen a cathode ray tube. It would be like speaking a different language. But Low, in his infinite wisdom and foresight, saw past the primitive technology and envisioned a world where news and entertainment would be beamed directly into our homes, transforming our living rooms into information hubs. He even predicted the rise of televised newspapers, where news anchors would deliver the day's headlines, just like we see today on our screens. And here's the kicker. Low didn't just predict television, he predicted our obsession with it, foreseeing a society captivated by the screen. He imagined a future where people would spend hours glued to their screens, consuming a constant stream of information and entertainment, a concept that has become our reality. He basically invented binge-watching before we even had remotes, predicting a culture of endless viewing long before it became a norm. But Low's vision of the future went beyond just television sets. He saw a world where technology would revolutionize how we receive and share information. He imagined a world saturated with information, where every household would be a hub of news and entertainment. News and entertainment would be delivered not just through screens, but through the airwaves themselves, reaching people in real time. This vision included the airwaves carrying voices and music directly into homes. He predicted the rise of radio broadcasting, a revolutionary idea at the time. Information would be transmitted wirelessly through loudspeakers, making it accessible to everyone. This technology would reach a vast audience simultaneously, breaking barriers of distance and time. Now, this might not seem like such a big deal today, in our world of podcasts and Spotify playlists. But back then, the idea of voices traveling through the air, without wires, was groundbreaking. The concept of voices magically appearing in your living room was like something straight out of a science fiction novel. It was an era of wonder and excitement, as people marveled at this new technology. Low envisioned these loudspeakers being used not just for entertainment, but also for important announcements, news bulletins, and even educational lectures. He saw the potential for radio to connect people across vast distances, creating a shared experience. Radio could foster a sense of community, bringing people together in ways never before possible. He saw the potential for radio to connect people across vast distances, creating a shared experience and fostering a sense of community. And you know what? He was absolutely right. Radio became a cultural phenomenon, bringing families together, sparking imaginations, and shaping public opinion. It was the precursor to the internet, a way for people to connect and share information on a global scale. The radio laid the groundwork for the interconnected world we live in today. It was a revolutionary step in the evolution of communication, paving the way for the digital age. So, what did all this mean for the humble newspaper? Well, Low predicted that as television and radio gained popularity, newspapers would slowly fade into obscurity, becoming relics of a bygone era. He foresaw a future where people would no longer have to wait for the morning paper to get their news fix. Instead, they could simply turn on their television or radio and be instantly bombarded with the latest headlines, breaking news, and sports scores. No more ink-stained fingers, no more waiting for the paperboy to make his rounds. Information would be available at the speed of light, literally. Now I know what you're thinking, but John, people still read newspapers today? And you're right, some do. But there's no denying that the rise of television and the internet has drastically changed the way we consume information. Newspapers are no longer the primary source of news for most people, and that's largely due to the advancements that Low predicted nearly a century ago. Low's prediction wasn't just about the decline of newspapers, it was about the fundamental shift in how we consume information. He understood that technology had the power to change our habits, to make the once unimaginable commonplace. And as we'll see with his other predictions, this theme of technological advancement shaping our lives is a recurring one. He didn't just predict the invention of new technologies, he predicted their impact on society, on our daily routines, and on the way we interact with the world around us. He saw that technology had the power to connect us, to inform us, and to entertain us in ways that were previously unimaginable. So, as we move on to Low's other predictions, keep this in mind. Archibald Low wasn't just some lucky guesser, he was a visionary, a man who understood the transformative power of technology and its ability to shape the future. And as we'll see, he was right about a lot more than just television. Stay tuned. Okay, nerdfighters, let's talk about walking, or, more specifically, Low's prediction that would forever change the way we navigate the urban jungle. Picture this. It's the 1920s, cities are bustling with activity, and the streets are teeming with, well, pedestrians. Yep, back then, walking was pretty much the only way to get around if you didn't own a horse-drawn carriage or a fancy automobile. Now, Archibald Low, being the brilliant mind he was, recognized the inherent inefficiency of all this pedestrian shuffling. He saw people trudging along, wasting precious time and energy that could be better spent, inventing things or pondering the mysteries of the universe. Low envisioned a future where walking, especially over long distances, would become a thing of the past, replaced by something far more efficient, far more futuristic moving sidewalks. Now, before you picture streets paved with giant treadmills, let's be clear. Low's vision wasn't that crazy. He imagined these moving sidewalks as platforms that would glide effortlessly along, transporting people across cities with minimal effort. Think of them as the love child of a sidewalk and a conveyor belt, a glorious fusion of pedestrian convenience and technological ingenuity. He envisioned these moving sidewalks crisscrossing cities, connecting major hubs and transportation centers, making it a breeze to zip around without breaking a sweat. No more tired feet, no more getting stuck behind slow walkers, just pure, unadulterated pedestrian efficiency. And you know what? Low's prediction once again hit the mark. While we haven't quite embraced moving sidewalks with the same enthusiasm as we have, say, smartphones, we have something remarkably similar: escalators and travelators. Think about it. Escalators, those magical staircases that ascend and descend without any effort on our part, are essentially Low's moving sidewalks in a slightly different form. They serve the same purpose, to transport people vertically with minimal exertion. And let's not forget about travelators, those flat, moving walkways you often find in airports and shopping malls. They're like mini moving sidewalks, whisking us along so we can conserve our energy for more important tasks, like frantically searching for our boarding pass or indulging in some impulse shopping. Low may not have gotten the terminology exactly right, but the underlying concept was spot on. He understood that as cities grew and our need for efficient transportation increased, we would find innovative ways to overcome the limitations of human locomotion. He saw that technology had the power to liberate us from the mundane, to free us from the tyranny of tired feet and aching legs. And while we may not have flying cars yet, we do have escalators and travelators, proving that Low's vision of the future wasn't so far-fetched after all. So the next time you find yourself effortlessly gliding up an escalator or effortlessly traversing a crowded airport terminal on a travelator, take a moment to appreciate the genius of Archibald Low. He saw a future where walking long distances was optional, where technology would do the heavy lifting, or rather the moving for us. He predicted a world where sidewalks would no longer be stationary, but would become moving walkways, seamlessly integrating into the urban fabric. And while we may not have fully embraced his vision of moving sidewalks just yet, who knows what the future holds? Maybe one day we'll be zipping around cities on moving walkways, just like Low imagined. Until then, we'll just have to settle for the marvel of escalators and travelators, those testament to Low's remarkable foresight and his uncanny ability to predict the future of pedestrian transportation. Low called it, "Stairs are for the brave." Okay, so we've talked about Archibald Low predicting the rise of television and the glorious invention of moving sidewalks. But did you know he also foresaw our current obsession with renewable energy? Specifically, he predicted the power of wind and tides. Yeah, this guy was seriously ahead of his time. Now I know what you're thinking. John, windmills have been around forever, and you're not wrong. But Low wasn't just talking about your grandpa's quaint little windmill powering a water pump. He envisioned massive wind-powered stations, harnessing the power of the very air we breathe to generate electricity. He saw a future where coastlines were dotted with structures capturing the immense energy of the ocean's tides. And guess what? He was right. Today, wind turbines and tidal power are becoming increasingly crucial in our fight against climate change. And you know what the best part is? We get to say, "We told you so." So how did Low envision these wind-powered stations? Well, picture this. Towering structures hundreds of feet tall, their blades slicing through the air like giant futuristic knives. Okay, maybe not knives, but you get the idea. These wind turbines, as we call them today, would be strategically placed in areas with strong, consistent winds, harnessing nature's own breath to generate clean, renewable energy. And the best part, no harmful emissions, no polluting the planet, just pure, clean energy from thin air. It's like something out of a science fiction novel, except it's real and it's happening right now. I mean, can you imagine what people back then would have thought if they saw these massive structures dotting the landscape silently generating electricity? They probably would have thought aliens had landed, or maybe just really, really big birds. Either way, it's pretty mind-blowing. But wait, there's more. Low didn't stop at wind power. He also saw the vast, untapped energy potential of our ocean's tides. Think about it. Twice a day, every day, millions of gallons of water surge back and forth with the rhythm of the moon. That's a whole lot of energy just waiting to be harnessed. Low imagined massive dams built across estuaries and bays, trapping the incoming and outgoing tides and using their immense power to generate electricity. And you know what? He was onto something. Today, tidal power plants are already a reality, quietly converting the ocean's natural ebb and flow into clean, renewable energy. It's like something out of a Jules Verne novel, only instead of exploring the ocean depths, we're harnessing their power to light our homes and cities. I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty darn cool. So, there you have it. Archibald Low, the futurist who predicted the rise of television, moving sidewalks, and now, the power of wind and tides. This guy was seriously ahead of his time, and I think we owe him a debt of gratitude for his visionary thinking. He reminds us that the future is not something that just happens to us, it's something we create. And by embracing new technologies and harnessing the power of nature, we can build a brighter, more sustainable future for generations to come. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go fly a kite and ponder the awesome power of the wind. Stay curious, my friends. Alright, picture this. It's 1923. You need to wake up for your incredibly important job, operating a lever at the jam factory. But there's no iPhone alarm, no chirpy radio announcer. Instead, you hire a knocker-upper. Yes, a knocker-upper. This wasn't some elaborate prank, it was a real job. These brave souls roamed the streets before dawn, armed with long sticks or pea shooters, tapping on windows to rouse the sleeping masses. It sounds like something out of a Dickens novel, but hey, it was the Roaring Twenties, people. Now our boy Archibald Low, ever the visionary, saw this and thought, there's gotta be a better way. And you know what? He was right. See, Low predicted the rise of the alarm clock, specifically radio alarm clocks. And let's be real. Waking up to the dulcet tones of static or a jaunty news jingle is a serious step up from a pea hitting your window at 5 a.m. So thank you, Archibald, for saving us from a world of pre-dawn projectiles and making sure we actually get to work on time, mostly. Now before you think Low just looked into a crystal ball and saw the future, let's talk about the context. The 1920s saw the rise of radio broadcasting. People were tinkering with all sorts of new technologies. Vacuum tubes were like the microchips of their day. So, Low's prediction wasn't completely out of left field. He was basically the tech guru of his time, predicting the next big thing based on the trajectory of innovation. Plus, let's be honest, the man was probably tired of hearing stories about knocker-uppers accidentally breaking windows. It's hard to be a visionary when you're constantly worried about shattered glass. Low's prediction wasn't just about convenience, though. It was about accessibility. Suddenly waking up at a specific time wasn't a luxury for the wealthy who could afford a knocker-upper. It was as simple as plugging in a clock. Okay, maybe not simple. Those early alarm clocks were notoriously fickle beasts. But still, Low's vision helped democratize timekeeping, and that's pretty darn cool. But here's where I think Archibald missed the mark, just a little bit. He predicted alarm clocks, yes, but he failed to predict the snooze button. And honestly, what's the point of an alarm clock if you can't repeatedly ignore it for 9 minutes at a time? Maybe he thought humanity wasn't ready for such power. Maybe he was worried we'd collectively sleep in and miss the invention of sliced bread or something. Whatever the reason, the snooze button remains a mystery that even Archibald Low, genius that he was, couldn't quite crack. But hey, nobody's perfect. And let's be real, even without the snooze button, Low's prediction of the alarm clock revolution was spot on. He saw a world where we could take control of our mornings, even if that control sometimes involves hitting a button 5 times before actually getting out of bed. So, the next time your alarm clock blares you awake, take a moment to thank Archibald Low. Because of him, you're not relying on a teenager with a pea shooter to get your day started. And hey, if you're feeling really grateful, maybe invent a time machine, go back to the 1920s and give Low the idea for the snooze button. Humanity will thank you for it, or at least, the sleep-deprived portion of humanity will. Fast forward to the 1920s, the golden age of cinema. You're dressed to the nines, ready for a night out at the picture house. The air crackles with anticipation, the smell of popcorn fills your nostrils. But wait, there's only one screen? Only one movie to choose from? Talk about a cinematic bottleneck. Enter Archibald Low, stage left, with a prediction so bold, so audacious, it would make even the most seasoned Hollywood director gasp. He envisioned a future where audiences wouldn't be limited to a single film at a time. He saw multiple movies playing simultaneously, catering to a variety of tastes and preferences. Sound familiar? That's right, folks. Archibald Low predicted both multiplex cinemas and, dare I say it, streaming services. Now you might be thinking, hold on John, multiplex cinemas, sure, that makes sense. But streaming, in the 1920s? And to that, I say, hear me out. Low didn't have the vocabulary for algorithms or fiber optic cables, but he understood the human desire for diverse entertainment options. He saw a future where we wouldn't be bound by the limitations of physical spaces or schedules. He envisioned a world where entertainment was on demand, tailored to our individual whims. He basically predicted Netflix, but without the buffering. This wasn't just about more movies though. It was about more choice, more freedom, more control over our leisure time. Low understood that entertainment wasn't a one-size-fits-all affair. He recognized that people have diverse tastes and should have the opportunity to explore those tastes without limitations. He foresaw a world where we wouldn't be confined to a single narrative, a single perspective. He imagined a future where we could switch between a heart-wrenching drama and a side-splitting comedy with the click of a button, or, the flip of a switch, because it was the 1920s. The point is, Low was way ahead of his time, envisioning a future where entertainment was as diverse and readily available as the information at our fingertips. So, the next time you're scrolling through endless rows of movie titles on your favorite streaming service, or debating the merits of popcorn versus nachos in a bustling multiplex lobby, take a moment to thank Archibald Low. His vision of a future filled with diverse and accessible entertainment options is now our reality. And who knows, maybe his next prediction will involve self-popping popcorn delivered directly to our seats effortlessly. A guy can dream, can't he? After all, anything is possible. So there you have it. 5 wacky predictions from 100 years ago that actually came true. From binge-watching to wind turbines, from moving sidewalks to multiplex cinemas, Archibald Low wasn't just a scientist, he was a visionary, a seer of the future, well, you get the idea. So next time someone calls you eccentric, just remember Archibald Low was eccentric, and basically invented your entire weekend. He understood that the line between crazy and genius is often blurred, and that sometimes the most outlandish ideas are the ones that change the world. He reminds us to embrace our inner weirdo, to never stop questioning, and to always keep an eye on the horizon because you never know what the future might hold. Like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments, what's the next invention the past got right? See you next time.